I want to call to order the meeting of the Public Safety Committee of Rutherford County for Monday, March 25th, 2024. It's good to see each and every one of you here this evening. We'll begin with the approval of our minutes, and I'll call on our Vice Chairman, Commissioner Rather.
Thank you, Chairman. I've read over the minutes from last month, found them all to be in order, and move for their approval as mailed.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion to approve those.
Second.
Have a second. Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, they have been approved. Public comments. Have we received any phone? No phone calls, so we'll just move on to our next item. Item 3, you have received in our agenda tonight that we are going to have a presentation through through ROB, or the Rutherford County Board on Opioids that we deal with each and every month. We have learned of some changes that have been happening in Middle Tennessee as far as our opioid overdoses have been concerned. Of course, everyone knows how fentanyl has been added to it. Now there is another problem that we're starting to see. And in the news, in the Tennessean, Sergeant Mike Hotz has been involved in that and seeing what has been added there. And it's a drug that actually comes from the veterinarian area that deals with large animals. And it's another situation that's coming very dangerous within our communities. And I've invited him to come here tonight and tell us a little bit about this. I thought you as public safety, as well as our other individuals within the community that are first responders that needed to know something about this. So I'll ask him to come forward this time and tell us a little bit about this. He seems to be the one that has been on the forefront with this and locating this and finding this. And good evening, sir. Good evening. And glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Hotz. I'm a sergeant with the Metro Nashville Police Department, and unfortunately I'm here to just raise your attention to a troubling trend in narcotics that I feel is worthy of attention. I'll talk a little bit about what is xylazine and how we are at the point that we are today and how we can potentially prepare our communities for the future. So what is xylazine? Xylazine is a veterinary medicine. It's used to sedate large livestock like horses and cattle. It's not approved for use in humans at all, and the reason for that is that it causes severe complications, and I'll go into some of that a little bit later. Unfortunately, it's being found mixed with the fentanyl supply in Nashville and across Tennessee as a whole, as well as across the United States. And it's also been an increasing contributing factor in overdose deaths, specifically in Nashville where I work. Unfortunately, xylazine is not an opioid, so Narcan does not work on reviving somebody who is suffering from a xylazine overdose. We do want to continue to encourage people, if they do believe that they are witnessing or experiencing an overdose, to still please use the Narcan or naloxone or Cloxato that should be available to you. It will do no harm. And the xylazine is usually found in the fentanyl supply. So the Narcan will counteract the effects of any opioids that are present in the substances that people ingest. It just will not affect the xylazine overdose. One of the most troubling side effects of the use of xylazine over moderate prolonged periods of time is the appearance of large open sores on individuals. There's significant amount of videos on different media platforms such as YouTube. If you're interested in, how this drug affects the human body, but it causes large open sores is one of the main negative side effects of it. While xylazine can be diverted or stolen from veterinary facilities, the vast majority of the xylazine, and I'm talking upwards of 99% of the xylazine that's in the drug supply in Nashville and Tennessee as a whole, is being manufactured illegally. This is not largely being diverted from veterinary sources. And it also has been found in smaller degrees mixed in the methamphetamine supply as well. Some other issues that the prevalence of xylazine in the fentanyl supply is it causes severe breathing difficulty in an overdose situation, and oftentimes those breathing issues require intensive breathing assistance, such as intubation and high concentrations of oxygen being used. Another issue of xylazine is the development of a dual dependence. So not only will somebody who is in active use of fentanyl and xylazine, they won't just have to treat the xylazine itself, they'll have to treat the dependence upon the xylazine as well. And this complicates things for our treatment providers, who I believe should be warned, the ones who are specific to your area. And as I mentioned before, the development of serious wounds, and the wounds can be so severe that they require limb amputation. So from a public safety standpoint, we have seen xylazine increasing in quantities. We have seen xylazine detected up to several years ago, both in laboratory testing of substances seized and also in blood toxicology of individuals who have died of overdoses. But the amounts that we were seeing in the fentanyl supply that were seized would be described as trace amounts. These were amounts where the substance, the xylazine, was present, but it wasn't necessarily enough to cause a narcotic effect. Now, unfortunately, we're seeing those blood toxicologies as well as the analysis, laboratory analysis, show that it is in amounts that could be considered for narcotic effect. We had 2 recent Nashville overdose deaths where xylazine was listed as one of the causes of death. In our area, it was in the Murfreesboro Road corridor. And then unrelated to those 2 overdose deaths that were xylazine related, we also had a large seizure of pills within the same time period. It was 120,000 counterfeit pills made to look like one thing, like a legitimate prescription pill, but it actually contained none of that prescription pill, and it was a mix of fentanyl. And at our department, we recently have acquired a portable mass spectrometer. It's called an MX908. It's about the size of a shoebox. It is slightly cost prohibitive, costs about $80,000, but after several years of my advocating to get one, we did. And I would urge for your local law enforcement as well as your other public safety folks, not necessarily that specific brand, but some sort of portable mass spectrometer. And what it is you can test a sample and plug it into the machine, and within less than a minute you'll have the results. It'll tell you the chemical composition of whatever substance that was. And in this case, the MX908 showed that this seizure of 120,000 pills, they were fentanyl and xylazine, which is the first time that we've seen them in pills. We've seen it in powder form before, but like I said, it was in small concentrations. This was alarming to me when it tested positive for the xylazine. I went back to our property and evidence division, and I signed out a separate unrelated pill seizure that I know about that was in the same time period, and I ran it through the same testing procedure, and unfortunately that same unrelated pill seizure also tested positive for both fentanyl and xylazine. So I encourage anybody I speak to about the xylazine trend to get ahead of the problem. Really, ground zero for the introduction of xylazine into the narcotic supply was in Pennsylvania, specifically Philadelphia, and specifically the Kensington region. And they were largely caught off guard. And that's not something I want to see in Tennessee. They had to kind of play catch up after the fact. And I don't want that to be the case in Tennessee. So any actions that can be taken on the forefront to get ahead of this trend would be of benefit. What's troubling, if you look at the statistics from Pennsylvania xylazine-related deaths, is how quickly they grew out of control. In 2017, there were 0 cases detected. In 2018, and this is Philadelphia. In 2018, there were in 2018 there were 51 cases, so from 0 to 51. And then the troubling part is really where they saw the large increase was from 2018 to 2019. It went from 51 to 259, and that's a significant statistical increase. And I think any city who was unprepared for it would have been caught off guard by that. A quick conversation with our Metro Nashville Police Department Crime Lab. We found that 80% of the powdered fentanyl substances that were submitted to our lab for analysis, about 80% tested positive for trace amounts of xylazine. So at least it's present in there, but not necessarily enough for a narcotic effect. But now I believe we're seeing it in amounts that would be deemed a narcotic effect amount. I believe we need to warn the public, warn medical providers, and also warn treatment providers to let them know about the issues that are inevitably going to come with treatment for the dual dependencies, as well as the treatment of the open sores. I think we need to advocate for additional treatment resources, and in y'all's particular case, if you were able to use any of those opioid settlement funds to assist or possibly purchase one of those detection machines that I mentioned, I think that would be a positive step forward to allow your public health and public safety analyze substances in the field and be able to determine whether they're a danger or not. And I know this meeting has to continue at the conclusion, but if anybody would like to speak to me after this, I'll stick around in the hallway or after the meeting if necessary. And I thank you all for your time.
Sergeant, would you take a question or two from?
Absolutely.
Commissioners, anybody had? Commissioner Rather?
Other than us using the opioid money and the machine, what would be your recommendation? Because we all know where it's coming from. There's a big old elephant in the room. We all know where it's coming from. How do we stop that unless we build a wall around the state of Tennessee? What else could we do?
I think the most effective ally that we have, specifically in law enforcement, but also public health and public safety, other public safety branches as well, is providing access to treatment resources. If individuals who are suffering from substance use disorder or opioid use disorder continue to use those substances, then there will constantly be an emerging market and dollars to be made by unscrupulous drug trafficking organizations that myself and my law enforcement partners who may be in the audience, we know that it is all about making money. And people dying from the use of narcotics is just a cost of doing business for them. So to reduce the demand in a market, whether it's illicit or not, in this case it is, by providing treatment resources, I think that is the single most effective way to get people into treatment. But then also public education. I think if people are armed with the knowledge about xylazine being in the fentanyl supply, and with Rutherford County being so close to Davidson County, I can assure you that the narcotics that are in Nashville are here as well. Anything that would allow your law enforcement investigators to further their clandestine investigations, such as the tools like the mass spectrometer, I think that would be a positive step forward, sir.
So if, say, a guy smoked something or took something, had fentanyl with the xylazine, and there's no counteractive measure like Narcan, do they die? Or they just done?
It's certainly possible, sir. If somebody, let's say somebody witnesses that, that hypothetical overdose, if they were there and present to administer Narcan, naloxone, or Cloxato, any of the opioid overdose reversal medications, that would help a great deal. That would knock out the opioid side of the overdose itself, but it doesn't counteract everything. It doesn't counteract the xylazine, and in order to save somebody's life who's suffering from a xylazine overdose, they need immediate medical intervention. They need to be at a hospital where whatever method of increasing their respirations is increased, whether it's, oxygen supplementation or intubation. Sir.
Any other questions? Commissioner James?
I'm trying to understand, is it added to other substances as a filler, or does it create like a different type of high, or, what's the motivation for adding this new chemical to it?
It does add an additional type of high or intoxication. It is not added as a filler. I can only speculate as to why the drug trafficking organizations are adding it. My personal opinion is that they're adding it to have an increased addictive potential so that they will have customers further into the future. The filler materials that people are using in the pills, sometimes called inert binder materials, are usually either acetaminophen or microcrystalline cellulose, or MCC, where if you apply pressure to it, it sticks around in a pill form. It holds its shape. So it's definitely there to produce a high or a narcotic effect.
Anyone else? Chairman Phillips.
I'm not sure I even know how to ask this, but drug dealers have to have some type of marketing plan. How are they marketing this? How are they selling this? How are they getting people interested in taking this?
So specific to xylazine, I would say that the marketing or advertising that they do clandestinely really hasn't advertised the presence of xylazine. We have seen, to my knowledge, specifically in Nashville, there were 2 individual cases where people were saying, I have specifically xylazine for sale, but none of those tips led to any seizures of substances or arrests. It might have just been somebody speaking, but if they're out there advertising that, the knowledge is out there that it's there. I think the xylazine that's present in the fentanyl supply now is just they're increasing the percentage of xylazine in what somebody believes that they are purchasing fentanyl.
Okay. Commissioner Oliver.
Thank you for this information. I actually was just reading about this week. As far as your statistics are concerned, what is the incidence within the state and within Middle Tennessee?
I am no statistician. I'm a simple law enforcement officer, but in Nashville, we had 40 cases in 2022, and the detection rate for 2023 actually went down, but I would speculate that it's going to go up because back in 2023, I can count on one hand the number of times that it was indicated present in a substance that I submitted for laboratory analysis, and now we're seeing it in a high percentage of the substances that we're testing.
And what population is this impacting?
It's impacting the population of individuals largely who are suffering from opioid use disorder.
In that age group?
The age group, it can vary, but fatal overdoses can affect anybody of any age, but I think the largest subsection of individuals are people between the ages of 18 and to about 40.
Anyone else? If not, Sergeant, appreciate you being here and giving us this information. This information came to us in the Opioid Board, and we just felt that it was pretty important that it come to you too, that you know something about it, because this is totally new, and it's on the, I'd hate to say it's on the horizon, but it is, and it's coming our way, so we want you to be aware of it. Okay, we'll move into our report, starting with the Sheriff's Office. Chief Spence. I believe you have 2 budget amendments, am I correct?
Yes, sir. Good evening. The inmate population this morning was 909. This afternoon, it was 900. Updates on our openings. Communications has 8 openings with 4 applicants in the background stage. School resource officers have 7 positions open, 6 applicants in the background stage. Detention has 40 openings with 20 applicants in the background stage. And patrol has 28 positions with 16 applicants in the background stage. That's the end of my report.
Questions on the report? Motion to approve. Commissioner
Second.
Beverly. Second. Commissioner James. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The report is approved. And I believe you have the 2 budget amendments?
Yes, sir. This amendment is to provide additional funds for overtime needed for employees covering vacant positions, FMLA, leave, and other events that require additional law enforcement planning or presence. Requesting to take $300,000 from our youth services salary line item, $300,000 from our dispatchers radio operator line item, and place it into our overtime line item.
You've heard the request.
Second.
Have a second. Discussion.
Question. So you say you're taking these funds again to do what?
To put into our overtime line item.
Will these positions still be funded in your next budget?
Yes.
Or how's that going to work?
Yes, ma'am. This money came from where we had opening positions in these line items. That money where they was open, we took the money from that.
And you'll still have those positions? I know it's budget time. So are you still budgeting for those positions moving forward?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Other questions? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Budget amendment has been approved. I believe you have one more.
This budget amendment reallocates funds awarded to the Rutherford County for the Violent Crime Intervention Funds. This is a no-match formula-based grant that ends June 30th for '25. We have not been able to hire these 2 positions, a community outreach coordinator and a community outreach co-responder. Budgeted amounts for personnel and related benefits, taxes, outreach materials, and literature for the community events. Cell phone service fees, training, and certifications will be reallocated for the approval of financial year '24 expenses for public-facing web site development and design, 2 vehicles, 2 body-worn cameras, 2 handheld radios, 2 ballistic vests, and website server and storage for records management. The funds for the approval of the digital message board installed at the Sheriff's Office will be moved to 2025 budget of $46,085. Requesting to relocate the money that was for salaries to place $25,000 into the data processing, $16,000 into the community equipment, $2,000 in the law enforcement equipment, and $86,125 into the motor vehicles.
You've heard the request.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner Rather.
Second.
And the second. Further discussion?
Question. So you're eliminating these 2 positions?
No, ma'am, we're unable to hire them within the time limit on this year's budget. They'll go into next
They will
year's.
go into the next year's budget as
Yes,
well?
we did this to keep from losing the money.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Rather? Any more questions?
I have another question.
Go ahead. had the motion, didn't we? Yeah, we
I
had a
had a
motion
question.
second. We had a motion and second. I've called, any further discussion?
On this topic.
We have, hadn't we? Yeah.
Yes, my understanding is you have a motion and a second on this grant right here, or this budget request, but I just had to just make sure I was clear in my head on it, that on the original grant, is there any risk this could come back to hurt us, that we don't have these positions filled, that come back and?
No, sir, we went through the grant person, and they had approved us to do this amendment. It won't penalize us.
Anything else? Last that you call the roll.
Mr. Beverly?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed?
Yes,
Thank you.
as approved.
Sorry, I jumped the gun, forgot we hadn't voted yet. Does anyone up here, including you, Chief, know when Salem Road in front of the SO's gonna be completed?
That's $1 million question. I believe it's projected for next year.
Next year?
Yes, sir. They got delayed. They was having a hard time getting materials, so it was delayed on order and some stuff.
So we could expect probably 2 years.
Okay.
Chief Spence, I have a quick question. You know I always have one.
Yes, sir.
In regards to our student resource officers, is there, across the board in the state or our county, is there a student to school resource officer ratio per school or the population? I'm just wondering.
Not that I know of. I'm not sure of a ratio for that.
Okay, I was just wondering because I know some of our bigger schools may require additional officers, so I was just something in the back of my head that.
I'll do some research and get back with you on that.
Thank
that We
you.
haven't had you. Thank you. Oh, there's not. The sheriff just said there's not a ratio. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving in now to our PAWS. I believe we have Shay Harrington. Okay, Supervisor. Good evening. Glad to have you tonight.
Good evening. In the month of February, we did a total intake of 392. The euthanasia percentage was 4.5 with a 92.9% live release rate for dogs, 97.8% live release rate for cats, and 95% overall. Officers completed for the month of February 1,111 calls with a total mileage of 76.04. For the fiscal year to date, we've done a total of 3,045 intakes with a live release rate of 92.6%. Calls completed by officers for fiscal years 9,473 with a total mileage of 67,076. Calendar year bite reports for February, 31 total, with 2 tested, 0 positive. Well, there were 2 other exposures, 0 tests, 0 positives. And I think that concludes the report.
For the reports, any questions? Questions for the supervisor?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner McMurray. Second, Commissioner James. Further questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The report has approved, and I believe you have a budget amendment?
Budget amendment, PAWS is requesting to move $10,000 within our budget due to HVAC repairs. The money should be sufficient to get us until the end of the budget year.
All right, got a HVAC repairs.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Beverly. Second, Commissioner Rather. Further discussion? No, yes, sir, Commissioner
I'm just
James?
curious what's going on with the HVAC.
I can't answer that. I'm just coming back from an extended leave, so I'm not quite sure what it is, but I can get with Michael when he comes back from his leave and be able to answer that question for you.
No problem.
Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed?
Yes,
Thank you.
it has been approved. I believe that's,
There's 2 grants.
you have 2 grants?
2 grant requests, yes, sir.
All right. Yes, you do. I just found that one under here. All right, this one has to deal with that one.
Okay. The permission to apply for grants from Petco Love and neither require a county match. The first grant is the Petco Love's Vet Tech Scholarship Fund. Monies to be used to provide scholarships to vet staff who seek to further their education by becoming licensed veterinarian technicians. The added skills will be beneficial to potentially increase their efficiency and number of surgeries we are able to perform. That's grant number 1.
So you're just basically asking to apply for those grants, correct?
Yes, sir.
I believe y'all have applied for those before, haven't you?
We have, and the second one is a Petco Love Animal Welfare Organization life-saving grant, monies to be used for life-saving projects at the shelter in years past. This has been used for play yard upgrades, staff training, quarterly adoption events, foster programs, et cetera. If granted this year, we hope to upgrade the PAWS sign with changeable letters to promote specific events, et cetera.
It's not here, it's not on here. This is just asking for permission to
Yes.
apply for those grants.
Yes, sir.
No match.
No match
No
grants.
match grants.
So we voting on both or just one at a time?
We'll vote for them one at a time,
All right,
and they're just primarily permission, so we'll just do it by voice vote.
all right.
Do you have a question?
I just had a question on it. Was just, you said you applied for it before. Wondering what was the take last time? Did you have a lot of employees go through the process? How fast are they to, reimburse for the funding, get bound to you, et cetera, et cetera?
So the Vet Tech Scholarship Fund, I don't know that we've ever applied for that. I believe that's the first time for this one. The Animal Welfare Organization grant, that's the one we've applied for in the past, and that's the one for the play yards and all of the building upgrades, as well as our foster programs, things like that.
Move to approve. The first.
The first one, okay, motion to approve that one.
Second.
Have a second? Have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That one is approved. Now, have a motion for the second one? Over here.
Second.
Have a second over here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's approved.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Thank you for standing in for the director. All right, we'll move now into OSHA. Ask that Mr. Ed Elam come forward. Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. So for the month of February, for the incident frequency, you'll see there were 25. For the incident frequency, the calendar year to date, there you see there's 40. OSHA log summary total recordables, 28. Lost day claims, 5. Restricted day claims, 20. Other recordables, there are 3. On the next page, on the job injury claims, for the year 2024, 40, 23, 49, 2020, 33. On the job injury incurred dollars, you have 163,000. 2024, you have 193 for 2023, and for 2020, you have 112,000. Breakdown on the last page, cause of injuries, Board of Ed had 17. County General had 18. Of the County General, Building Codes had 1, EMS had 1, Fire and Rescue had 2, Sheriff's Department had 4. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions on the report?
What do you think caused the trend to go up this month?
Which one we talking about? You talking about for 2024? Or you,
Just this past month, it started. Looks like it's kind of going up a little bit on your bar graph here. Just wondering.
yeah,
Just leftovers from the ice? Or?
yeah, in injuries, it's hard to say. Sometimes nothing is level. You have ups and downs. I would anticipate next month, for the month of March, it would be down because you've got spring break and you don't have teachers in. So, but I mean, I'd have to look into it to see if there was snow, if there was ice, there's certain things if you dive a little bit deeper, but there's just certain injuries you're just going to have. It's just, it's just the way it looks.
I get that. I was just looking at the bar graph showing stair steps going up for the last 3 years in a row. So I just was wondering if there's any precursor if we can head off on to kind of break the trend.
Well, keep in mind, we added, I think the numbers I saw recently for the year 2023, we added over 500,000 man-hours worked, additional man-hours worked. So when you start comparing 23, 22, 21, you've also got additional man-hours, which means it gives you additional exposure. So that means there's more people, which means you have more EMS calls, you have more police calls, you have more interaction with the public. And so, you have, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, it seems like it was like 522,000 hours worked additional than what you had in 2022. So your numbers, naturally, because of greater exposure, you're going to see an increase over time. And then also keep in mind on our incident rate, which Chairman Phillips keeps an eye on pretty closely. When you look at these numbers, our incident rate for Rutherford County is, for 2023 was 2.55, 2022 was 2.07. And the state published incident rate, which they haven't had, 2023 is not out yet, is 4.6. So what I would remind you is when you look at this, you're comparing us to ourselves. And then if you compare us to the state, I'm going to brag on my team a little bit. They're doing it well above what the state average is. But when you look at it, you're going to have some years you have a good year and you have a bad year. But we're still nowhere close to what the state incident rate is. So as I caution my team, be careful as you compare yourself to yourself, because it's not really fair when you're already doing better than what the state average is.
Comment.
Okay.
You make a very valid point when you talk about comparing to the state. Is there any way we can get that data on a regular basis? Because that's really good that you pointed out how much better we're doing for the state. I guess that'll be one more bar added. I don't know, but you made a good point.
Yes, ma'am, and I agree with you 100%. We've already got our incident rate for 2023, which I gave you, which is 2.55. The state incident rate, we just got 22's incident rate in November of 2023. So you're about 9-10 months getting it. So every time we try to sit there and compare to the state, they're always a year behind. And if we reacted to the state data, we would already be too late. And so we do a lot of work on our data to make sure, as I've given you a comparison to ourselves, is we do a lot of work on our data because it's more real and it's more to date. Where the state data, yes, we can research it and get it, but by the time you get it, it's outdated. Basically, is the way I look at it.
Other questions or a motion?
I so move.
Motion to approve. Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The report has been approved, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Moving to item 7, Recovery Court Report. Michelle Ricks. I believe you have a budget amendment also, don't you?
We have two, yes.
And a reentry proposal.
First, we'll start with the recovery court numbers for February. We had 188 people in our program, 52 people in our mental health court with 12 pending applications, 17 in our veterans court with 4 pending applications, 49 in our drug court with 11 pending applications, 66 in our DUI court, 30 in our night, 36 in our day, with 18 pending applications. We had 22 new participants, 6 graduations, and 1 termination. And that concludes my report.
You've heard the report. Any questions, comments, or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Have the motion to approve. Commissioner McMurray. Second? And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Your report has been approved. Now, you will start with the budget amendment first, or?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a budget amendment for recovery court. The state approved a 5% increase for the fiscal year '24, our adult recovery court and veterans court budgets. This budget amendment is to allocate funds to the supplies to purchase therapy, equipment, educational supplies, books, and storage. In addition, funds are allocated to other charges for specific direct client assistance to purchase food, hygiene products, clothing, and backpacks.
Commissioners, you've heard the request.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Commissioner Rather.
Second.
Second. Commissioner Sereno. Further discussion? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Yeah. I was trying to wait.
We can go on with it.
Okay. Chairman Reed?
Yes,
Motion passes.
it's approved. I believe you have your reentry program.
Yes. So on behalf of the reentry program, we're asking for permission to apply for the Tennessee Office of Criminal Justice Programs rolling solicitation for evidence-based programming grant that we currently hold in partnership with the Adult Detention Center. The new solicitation is not yet released, but it will be soon. We have received approval from the state to commence work on the solicitation that you should see on your tablets below. So we're asking to apply for the solicitation when it's released for up to $1 million for a building at the jail for programming.
Okay. Commissioners?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you want to apply for this grant?
Yes.
And I'm curious, as with some of the other grants, are there any matching, anything going on here?
No, ma'am, it's no match. It's an extension to what we already have. The evidence-based jail programming grant is just another extension that will be released.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, and we have the second. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray,
Yes.
Chairman Reed,
Yes,
motion passes.
it has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. All right, Recovery Court. Good evening.
All right. If you would allow me just very quickly before I start our report, as far as probation goes, I just wanted to kind of say something with what Sergeant Hotz, I hope I pronounced your name right, presented. I am also a member of the Rutherford Opioid Board and had not necessarily heard of this xylazine until our meeting earlier this month when it was brought to the board's attention. Since that meeting, I've passed along that information to my staff, along with that press release that Metro Nashville put out regarding their seizure of the pills that contained the xylazine, just so that my staff was aware and could make their clients aware so that they could pass along that education to them about the fact that it's that there's evidence that it's in with what they may think are fentanyl tablets, that the Narcan, again, while it doesn't hurt, is not necessarily going to counteract the results of, or the effects of that drug, and also just explaining, making our clients aware of the, like he was talking about, the open sores on your body, that kind of stuff, just so they're aware. I've also spoken with the facility that administers our drug screens that we use for probation, and have confirmed that if we have a suspected case or we have reason to believe that we do have a client currently, if we know that they're using fentanyl or that they've tested positive in the past, to make sure that that can be added to an option for our drug screening for certain clients as far as probation goes. So I just kind of wanted to pass that along after his presentation. Moving on to our report. For the month of February, we closed 176 cases, which equaled 158 people. For the month, we actively supervised 1,287 cases. In our various programs and classes that you see listed there, we had 67 enrolled. For the month, 15 completed successfully, 5 were discharged for various reasons. With our Olive Branch ministry, we were able to help 4 clients that were in need of some sort of assistance during the month of February. With our 10 Rocks program, we currently have 20 active participants with 1 pending referral. We did not have any that completed or were discharged in the month of February, but we did hold a large graduation ceremony in February, and I would like to thank Commissioner Serino attended that graduation, so we would like to thank you for that. On the bottom of our report, you can see our revenue was $18,496.72. As far as the financial statement for the monies that was sent to the clerk, they say January in 2 places, but that is February. We were able to send $17,054 in probation fees to be collected by the clerk. Of the cases that we closed and could not send, that amount equaled $4,074, and we supervised a total of 11 clients that the court had deemed indigent. And that would be my probation report for February.
Thank you. Questions?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner Oliver.
Second.
Second. Commissioner McMurray. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, your report has been approved. Thank you. All right, Correctional Work Center. And I believe Captain Jason Smitty is going to present that tonight. Good evening.
Good evening. If you'll take a look at my report, you'll see the monthly board meeting minutes. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Next, you'll see our work release program. We've had a slight increase with our workers in work release. Yearly activity report, our head count staying right about the same. Nothing's changed there. And it looks like we sent out 272 workers for a total of saving the county $72,624 in labor. And that's all my report.
Commissioners, questions on the report? Comments or a motion?
Second.
Got the motion and a second. For discussion.
Quick question. I noticed in your minutes that you're planning on having the education for the inmates. Has that taken place yet?
The education,
The prevention specialist doing
oh,
classes?
no, that hasn't taken place yet. No.
So then you have time to maybe amend that to include the xylazine information?
We'll
for
get
your
with
inmates.
our medical. They're the ones who want to bring that in, and we'll discuss that with them. The person that's coming in may not be, they may not be educated in it, so we wouldn't want them to speak on something that they wouldn't know about. So we would have to see about that.
But maybe it could be suggested?
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we've already had the motion and the second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? I believe your report has been approved. Thank you. Thank you. Juvenile detention? And Duke.
Good evening. Before you have our report for the month of February, which includes our minutes. Before we get on to the pages afterwards, I did want to update that Gibson County, their check did come today in the mail. So right now, the only county that has outstanding bill is Lauderdale, but we don't expect that to be a problem. We should be receiving that in the next couple days. So you will see our board minutes, which I can answer any questions if you have them, as well as our usual reports that include our STD, educational and facility programming, and who came, and how many came in and how many left. And that should be all of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Duke?
Well, congratulations. I read in this that the judge commended you on an inspection.
For our DCS, our annual inspection, yes, we have really only had 1 year where we had some disagreements with how they were actually monitoring, not that we didn't comply, but what they were monitoring. So it's not, it's good that we, were approved, but I don't know that he needed to go on and on about it. So, but I appreciate it.
Any comments or questions on the report?
Motion to. Second.
Got a motion, Commissioner Rather, and a second over here, Commissioner McMurray. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emergency Service. Director Chris Clark. Evening, sir.
Evening, Chairman, Committee. Hopefully in front of you, you have on your iPads our report for February the 18th to March the 18th. I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have.
You gonna be watching the storm tonight?
Probably so.
Any questions on the report?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner McMurray.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, report is approved.
I have a budget amendment. I'm hoping that it made into the SharePoint. we're requesting to move $36,872 from Homeland Security grants into another Homeland Security grant line item, which is $790, so we can purchase this equipment.
Commissioners, you have the grant before you there. Motion to approve, Commissioner Beverly.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Beverly. Further comment?
Question?
Commissioner Alba?
What type of equipment is being, I don't see it specified. What type of equipment are you?
It's equipment that we have requested through Homeland Security that will be divided into other entities such as Murfreesboro Police, Fire, Rutherford County Fire, EMS, different types of equipment, whether it's a spine board or a robot tracks, replacement tracks. And this is 100% reimbursement through the federal government.
Other questions?
Another question, and I still keep thinking about that report that he gave us at the beginning with the xylazine. So is it possible these funds could be used for that type of equipment that he suggested that might be?
No, ma'am.
That would be something totally separate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Commissioner McMurray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
James? Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed?
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Motion is approved.
Everybody have a happy and safe spring break.
Thank you, sir. Emergency medical services. Director Brian Gaither. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman. For the month of February, we made 3,161 calls, 18 hospital transfers, a response time of 6 minutes, 57 seconds. We had 140 DOAs, 30 of those were autopsied. And I noticed this on your paper, it reverted back to 1960. They didn't cut us a break on the cost of those. They're still $2,500, so I just noticed that today. We collected $766,077 for the month. Then the mileage driven and the money spent on fuel and maintenance. The next page, some in-service training and some community relation events. The convalescent division did 401 calls with $125,422 in collection. And then the next few pages is that more of a detailed report. It's the first time in, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 months that the station that's out on Fortress wasn't the overall winner of the most calls. And then just some more information there, but I think a total of 44 times for the month that a call was made in the north end of the county that wasn't one of those north end trucks. And then some multiple thank you notes there, different crews, different supervisors, and that's my report.
Commissioners, you've heard the report. Questions?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Commissioner Beverly.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Sharino. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The report is approved. I believe you have a budget amendment?
We do. We're asking to take $10,000 from our assigned fund balance to roll back into our paramedic scholarship line item. we went for a few years there that we didn't use those whole funds, and I think this was, we tried to reappropriate it from last budget into this one, but I don't know if we made a mistake in that process, but, so it went into end fund, but we're asking to pull it back out. We have a total of 10 employees that are in paramedic school. I think we're helping, we're either paying for or helping to pay for 6 or 7 of those individuals, and we're going to be about $10,000 short in covering their paramedic school cost.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner
Second.
Rather. Second, Commissioner McMurray. Further discussion?
Question.
Yes,
These are current employees?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, once you provide for their education, are they required to work so long before
Yeah,
they could
there's
go elsewhere?
we make them sign a 3-year contract. It's working out pretty good. We paid for one, and he'd only been out of school 4 or 5 months before he left to go to a surrounding county, but because they have accrued vacation time that they haven't taken, we're able to, we try to make them pay that back anyways, but in the past it's been a little difficult, but there's a new way to handle it now, and so we're successful at getting our money back if they don't complete their contract.
Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Beverly? Yes. Commissioner McMurray? Commissioner Sharino?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Oliver?
Aye.
Chairman Reed? Yes. Thank y'all.
And I wanted to mention one more thing. On Friday, I had an employee that turned in his notice. He has worked for us since March of 1991. He's been here for 33 years, and he's leaving to go to a surrounding county and gonna make more money starting out than here after 33 years. So I know we're heading into a difficult time with budget, but these are just kind of some of the things we're faced with. And I know some of these surrounding counties, we really can't compare ourselves to, but 33 years and going over there day one with a raise more than we're currently paying him, that's a tough market to keep employees in. I agree. We had EMS Day on the Hill last week, and I tried to get in front of all of them. Some of them were a little more busier than others, but they're aware of what we're trying to do. Obviously, as you all know, not very supportive of what you guys are trying to do, and some of them made that known to me. I was up there for EMS Day on the Hill, not to really talk about things like that, but that's where the conversation went to. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, just more of a comment. Today, in the town of Smyrna, we waited 20 minutes for an ambulance. That was today. It happens 44 times last month. When we go into this budget cycle, we realize we're running short on EMS. They're going to outside counties. We don't have enough trucks. We are aware of this. We have to address it, so just keep that in mind when we gather our plans and priorities for how we're going to spend taxpayer money over the next year. We have an obligation to the public, and I just want to point that out because it is happening every day, and we can't just gloss over that. 20 minutes is a lifetime performing CPR.
Thank you, sir.
Question for you. How is our contracted with other providers going?
I'm sorry, repeat that question.
How are we with some of the other contract providers that are out there? How are we operating with any of them? Anything going with that helps bridge the gap until we get you fully?
We've had that discussion in the past, and that's not a good way to operate, to be honest. If it was just, those companies are 100% trying to make a profit. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, I'm looking at bridging the gap until we can fully get your department.
True, and they're in the same boat that we are. Some of the employees that work there, they may have worked for us in the past. So that's kind of a polite way to put it. So you get what you pay for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fire and Rescue. Steve Farley.
Good evening, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. I want to remind y'all again, you probably got the invitation in your mailbox, but our recruit class 2401 graduates April the 5th at 11 a.m. at New Vision Baptist Church on Thompson Lane. That's April the 5th on Friday, and we would be honored to have your presence there. For the year-to-date, we've had 1,439 calls. Last month, for the month of February, we ran 686 calls. The total of call volume with including the 2 volunteer fire departments we have left, including Eagleville, we have had 10 structure fires so far, 25 brush fires, 21 illegal burns, 18 vehicle fires, 10 hazmats. We've had 192 MVAs. We've had 4 of those were with extrication. And we ran a total call volume. We actually had 723 medical calls. Eagle started doing first responders, so their call volume's up on medical. Our total call volume for the county was 1,624 calls year to date. That's for January and February. The next sheet is what we turn into the codes department of those who've had structural damage on their home. And the next document is the fire marshal's report on the certain cases, the investigations they performed. And the last sheet is a document showing where all the unauthorized illegal and burning has been located. And that concludes my report.
Questions on the report? Motion to approve, Commissioner Oliver.
Second.
Second, Mr. Reno. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Report has been approved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Other business? There's no other business. Hope all of you have a nice Easter and stay attuned tonight with the wind that's coming up and some of the other storms we may have. We are adjourned.